现场以及屏幕前的召唤师，让我感受一下你们的热情好吗？欢迎来到正大广场。过去的这个春天，英雄联盟职业联赛经历了主客场制度的重大改革 ，LGD、Snake、OMG 三支队伍充当了先锋军，开启了 LPL 联盟化的新纪元。常规赛中， IG 战队一路高奏凯歌，刷新了一个又一个神奇的连胜纪录。4月末，春季总决赛首次落地西部，并在成都举办了一场规模空前的电竞盛宴。而春季赛冠军 RNG 更是远赴欧洲，连克强敌，勇夺2018季中冠军赛的冠军，代表 LPL 赛区获得了至高的荣誉。 而今，春去夏至 ，LPL 又新增了位于北京和西安2座城市的主场。炎炎6月，战火即将重燃，就让英雄联盟陪你度过这个注定精彩的夏天。序幕即将拉开，王者已经归来，群雄争霸的崭新篇章将由 LPL 冠军奖杯的归还作为开始。接下来，让我们欢迎 RNG 战队选手代表初登 LPL 舞台季加冕为王的冠军打野，欢迎卡萨。 代表联赛最高荣誉的冠军奖杯已经重新安放在了正大广场的中央。接下来，让我们共同欢迎14支 LPL 战队选手代表登台。首先登场的是代表西部赛区队如其名，志在攀登的 Top， 以及代表东部不破不立、重新出发的 LGD。让我们欢迎 发哥 Amy。 请两队代表至两侧对战席就位。接下来，让我们欢迎代表西部赛区落户成都、历史悠久的 OMG， 代表东部不甘沉沦、顽强战斗的 VG。掌声欢迎 Ward 6 EZ Home。 有请两队代表至两侧对战席就位。现在将要来到舞台的是代表西部赛区荣归故里、映红古城的 WE， 代表东部志在远方、年轻气盛的京东 Gaming。让我们有请龙的传人康帝以及牙膏。 请两队代表至两侧对战席就位。下一队出场的战队分别是 代表西部赛区浴火凤凰潜力无限的去家 FunPlus， 代表东部天赋异禀、血气方刚的苏宁 Gaming。让我们欢迎无状态狼行。请两队代表至两侧对战席就位。接下来，让我们请出的是代表西部赛区盘踞山城、威风雄起的 Snake， 代表东部突破4元、一起干杯的哔哩哔哩 Gaming。让我们欢迎蝴蝶、雅典娜。请两队代表至两侧对战席准备。下一组登场的是杀入春季赛4强的2支队伍。首先，代表西部赛区侠义天下、骁勇善战的 RW， 代表东部连破纪录、意气风发的 IG。让我们欢迎 Doing B。Rookie， 请两队代表至两侧对战席就位。最后，让我们请出的是2018年 LPL 春季赛的决赛战队。首先欢迎西部赛区5夺冠军、满载辉煌的 JDG， 东部赛区永不言弃、登峰造极的RNG， 掌声有请 Scott Casa。请两边选手到两侧对战席就位。现在 LPL 夏季赛的14支代表队伍已经全部就位，胜利、感动、友谊、激情 ，LPL 这个舞台带给我们的远不止这些。赛场上每个令人动容的瞬间，都是我们为之奋战的理由。这就是 All We Fight For。锣鼓已鸣，战时已到。2018年英雄联盟职业联赛夏季赛现在开始。
没有走完的路不会是终点，故事的走向是自己选择的坚持。
这个故事的开头还算不错，相信过程，相信自己走过的路。
那些最激动人心的冒险，从来不是单枪匹马的挑战。
과거는 잊으세요. 내일이 새로운 시작입니다. 내 경기가 새로운 도전입니다.
我们愿意为胜利付出许多代价，改变只是其中之一。
어떤 사람이든 현재에 만족하지 않고 어떠한 사람이든 제자리 걸음을 하지 않는다.
过去的荣耀就存留在记忆中，这一抹红色要照亮未来。
为之付出的心血越多，收获的果实才越甘甜。
赛场上的事怎能尽如人意？我只想追求无愧于心。
保持微笑，胜利总会专顾你。
在尝过赢得一切的滋味之后，你绝对不会甘心做第二名。
尖矛和利刃是勇者的武器，也有最坚硬的盾和扬起风帆的大旗。
如果翻不过这座山， 他们就听不到你的故事。
这个故事的结局将由我们来谱写。为了无悔，为了胜利，为了站在世界这边。
Hello and welcome to a brand new split of the LPL. We're here in summer 2018 and I hope this isn't the first time you're tuning in because that opening ceremony was fantastic. The crowd went absolutely ballistic seeing our top 4 teams head onto the stage. Welcome to the Analyst Desk. I'll be your host for today. My name is Richard Pauls-Cam. I'm going to be alongside my analyst Clement Chu and Barento Raz Mohammed. How are we doing today, gentlemen?
I can't believe they actually brought the champions to stage. They flew all of them from Ruterra just to have them right here. That was amazing.
I'd say the best part about it was the fact that Rookie was standing side by side with Yas, so hopefully we get to see more of that in the game at the very least.
Yeah, it was so cool to watch over on stage, and we've got plenty more cool things to go your way. But before we start anything else, I feel like we need to address the elephant in the room, which is China #1. Is that where we're at right now? Because we just won MSI.
#1, Clement. #1. That's it. I don't have to say anything
Case
else.
closed. Clement, you got anything to add?
Look, I gotta say, you don't say we the best unless you're a DJ or you actually won Worlds. And in this case, I think it's only fair to say that the LPL should be admitted as the most competitive league. Because RNG wasn't like Fnatic was to EU. We actually had multiple teams that could compete with them at that level. So it's only a matter of time when this environment actually produces a world champion.
It was definitely a rocky montage since Chinese New Year. We were having a discussion about it because when he went to playoff time, all eyes were on Invictus Gaming. We told the story millions of times before, but RNG rising above, getting into the international event and showing the world the strength of RNG and China. Massive respect.
Oh yeah, 100% agree, Raz. And to be fair, you are fair on that one, Clement. There are plenty of good teams. And in fact, we should take a look at some of them as well who will be competing in our tournament in the 2018 summer split right here. And you can see that in the LPL, we do things just a little bit differently because we have so many teams. So we have the Western and the Eastern conferences. Raz, take me through this one.
14 teams to be exact. And we did our group draw not so long ago. So the teams that went through it were VG Gaming and Billy in the Eastern Conference, Rogue Warriors and TOP in the Western Conference. 14 teams, double round robin within your own conference, and then when you go up against the other opposing side in the cross-conference setting, that's a single round robin.
And for this split, we have 2 new teams that have their own home stadiums. RNG will be settled in Beijing and will be geographically locked towards the Eastern Conference in the future, while WE has their new stadium in Xi'an and will be locked into the Western Conference.
Exactly. It's important to note that some of these teams will never change their size of the conference. They'll never be West, they'll never be East because they're locked, because it turns out that's where you are in China on that one. However, we do have to talk about the strengths of the West and of the East, because I remember back at the start of this year when we all moved to Shanghai, we were just like, West is going to crush it. You got the likes of EDG over there, you got WE. We were like, there's no way the East is going to compete. What happened, gentlemen? What happened? Well, the East completely demolished the Western Conference in cross-conference.
We just didn't expect how strong the top side of the Eastern Conference was going to be. And then when it went to the cross-conference, as you mentioned, it was Rogue Warriors, it was RNG, and it was Invictus Gaming that went and completely smashed. At the very least, we have Rogue Warriors in the Western Conference. The only problem is that when it went down to the end of the season, BLG just looked like they were a little bit better.
There's no question for us that East is still the beast. In fact, we think there's a high chance that they're going to repeat their cross-conference massacre last split, where their top 3 teams went 21-0 against the opposite conference.
Yeah, it was an absolute demolition, and because of that, many of those teams will actually be performing in Rift Rivals, which will be happening just a few weeks from now, and you can actually see that RNG, IG, and Rogue Warriors all from that side of the conference.
And immediately, of course, international audience will know EDG and RNG, and people have sung the praises of how good Invictus Gaming were domestically. Rogue Warriors are the only team you would look at and say, I don't know too much about them. Doonby is the main player you would look at and say, that player is fantastic to watch in and off the Rift. But then I would say, if you saw Rift Rivals last time, it was SMLZ that was there on OMG, and he was here today, of course. He's an excellent AD carry, and you have to be able to watch him.
If there's a second AD carry you need to know in the LPL, it would be SMLZ. He is the true lineage to Uzi. And I also have to mention, just harping back to our strong team point, that RNG actually held the worst regular split record out of those 4 teams. So there's a lot of strong competition coming from the LPL.
Exactly. You've got to be watching teams like RW, because I know a lot of people, if you were watching Rift Rivals last year, it's probably like, SMLZ, why do I care? Because OMG, I mean, they probably weren't the sole reason why China managed to take that one home, I think, at the end of the day.
It's a team game, goddammit.
I mean, okay, Raz, but on this one, SMLZ is very much the heart of the team for Rogue Warriors.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why when it goes to this split around, even though we were talking about Rogue Warriors as a team kind of slumping at the end of the split, remember, team fighting, action. That's what the name of the game is for this patch coming through. And I know LPL is going to be really thriving on it. So I want to see SMLZ, what he can do with the new carries coming forward.
Yeah, you can really thrive. And it's also just the fact there's so many reps that the teams get to have between now and Rift Rivals. Because we're going to take a look at the structure as well. For the days, you can actually tune into the LPL. And it turns out there's a lot of them. So right now, as you can see, we're on Monday, so we're going to be live. But Tuesday and Wednesdays, we don't broadcast. But you can catch all the action over on the Mandarin streams on Panda and Doyu. So make sure to tune in for that one. At the end of the day, we'll be showing you those links as well. Then following that on Thursday, it's going to be the global day off for the LPL. No League of Legends action. Is going to be the reset day, and then we'll be kicking off again for our stream on the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and of course repeating everything for a new week on Monday. So there's plenty of LPL action to be watching over these weeks.
Yeah, a lot of games to be played. So of course, as you mentioned, if you want to be able to catch those games, hopefully we'll have the extra content for you to be able to keep up. Or if you're just a diehard fan, you can watch it on the respective Chinese streams.
And while we're talking about extra content, Raz, we have even more content for you, because this split will be starting off the podcast as well for the LPL. And you'll be able to catch Clement and Raz over that one, plus Fish, our caster for the first game, will also be your host as well. So make sure to tune in for that. First episode will be coming very shortly, so make sure to go over to that link you can see on your screen right now and watch some more League of Legends action. But we have to move it along and start talking about the game itself. Of course, we have to talk about the patch, because we are the first major region going to be on 8.11. So I'm going to rush through this one, because as you can see on stage, we're already getting ready for these games. But Raz, talk to me about the jungle, because there are a lot of changes coming your way.
Yeah, and a lot of it happened in 8.10 as well. So less experience in the jungle, so it's harder to get to level 3. A lot more aggression coming through just to be able to get the Scuttle Crab. So you have to see the Xinjiaos coming along, the Graves coming along, and how they're able to impact the game right in the early portions of it.
Yeah, definitely. Early mid is more important, and marksmen are nowhere to be seen. Their early base 80 has been lowered, and also their item builds have been less synergetic. It's much harder to build an Affinity Edge into double Zeal items. That's not an efficient build anymore, and we're seeing a lot more bruisers and tanks running around the Rift.
Talk to me about some of these bruisers that are on the sea. Just list some names out for
me.
me.
All right, so we've seen the Master E and Taric thing going on in Challenger. BDD and Cuz have been going with the Karthus and the Nunu combo in the mid lane. And there's also stuff like Braum and Olaf, just to secure those scuttles over and over again. You can't win them in a 2v2.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of crazy action going around the Rift. It feels like it's just me times 10 all over the Rift. This is just the perfect patch for me. I'm excited for this one. But we have to take a look at the games we actually have coming your way today. Let's go ahead and take a look at the schedule. You see just behind us, we've been setting up for our first game. You probably guessed already, but it's going to be JD Gaming taking on Invictus Gaming for our first matchup of the day. And we'll be finishing up day one with Vici taking on BLG.
Yeah, just to hit on BLG versus Vici Gaming. Remember, those are the two teams that now swap towards the Eastern Conference, so it's going to be interesting to see where BLG are at, especially off their runner-up placement in Demacia Cup.
And finally, we need to check in with Invictus Gaming. Like we said, this is a historical team. Last split, 88% win rate. We thought they were going to go to MSI, but they stumbled in the playoffs. This is a good time to check in with them and see, can they rebuild a new identity around Duke?
Let's go ahead and take a look at that lineup, because today it will be Duke in the top lane, no Shy today, and in the jungle, Ning, in the mid lane, Rookie with Jackie Love and Bao Lan rounding out that roster.
Yeah, I want to see what Duke can provide for the team. I think Demacia Cup was actually a good showing for him, so it's a bit of a redemption.
On our side, it will be Zoom in the top lane, Klid in the jungle with Yagao in the mid lane, and Loken and Lumao in the bottom lane.
When we talk about these two teams, the first two players we look at are those mid laners. Yagao, the star player for Jingdong Gaming, and they also symbolize the difference between these two teams. Rookie is more lane dominant, while Yagao is looking to roam and influence the map.
Yeah, this is very much the first hurdle that we're seeing here for Invictus Gaming. Can they take down JD, or will JD actually find themselves a 2-0 on the day? We're about to find out, but before we head to the casters, we're going to hear from Rookie and how the end of the split went for him and Invictus Gaming.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Matthew Stewart. Joining me is Indiana FLICKR in black. We just heard from Rookie Justin. It was a disaster of a finish for Invictus Gaming last split, and he's already noticed that it was an emotional heartbreak trying to bounce back coming into summer split.
Yeah, and it's kind of curious, you know, usually when you see pre-game interviews, like, you know, they're amped, they're ready to be on the stage. Invictus Gaming, a historic team, they were shattering records across the LPL, the heavy favorites to go to MSI, and even in the discussion while not appearing on the stage. But seeing Rookie like that, it just kind of says, have they solved their problems? Because it's not just the fact that Rookie seems down, it's also the fact that the Shy is still missing.
Yeah, he would not be starting today. It's going to be the Duke that plays the first match. And as you mentioned, during last split, not only were they not able to attend the finals, but they dropped in the third, fourth placing match as well. Must have been devastating for Invictus Gaming.
To end 40-11 and to be 4th place in the league, you heard Clement on the analyst desk. RNG actually had the worst win record of any of our top 4 teams, and they won MSI. So Invictus Gaming, if you didn't watch the LPL, these guys were a super team. No one could touch them. They smashed everyone until they lost their superstar top laner, the Shy.
They dropped their first match against RNG during the regular split, and from then onwards, they won every single game they played. But let's get straight into Champions Select. Match 1 of the summer split. Invictus Gaming taking on JDG.
And again, you heard it on the analyst desk. This is 8-11 and Pyke is enabled. So I hope everyone is ready for some yakety sax meta, because I've seen some crazy things around the world, especially in Korean solo queue. We're just going to hold hands, we're going to buckle up, and we're all going to learn together.
Because that's what we've kind of taken notes from. The solo queue metas of not only the LPL, but also the LCK, and watching a couple of broadcasts from the OPL. No one really knows what's going to happen in this meta just yet.
So I already really want to grab Invictus Gaming's blue side bans. Now, I heavily expected that red side would be Graves, Aurelia, and Yasuo permaban, but that's not the case. It's IG instead deciding to pinch the jungle pool, also having the Talia ban down there. Raz said it on the desk, you've seen it all over Reddit, and Camille. So yes, they pinched the jungle pool from blue side by banning both Talia and Graves, but Camille is a flex jungle top laner right now.
Two very strong junglers with Aurelia being taken away as well. That could be Rookie or Duke's champion, if not Yakgal's or Zoom's champion. We've seen it both in the mid lane as well as top side of the map. For the side of JDG, taking away Zoe, Lucian, and Draven. Two incredibly strong AD carries being taken away, and that's one of Jackie Love's signature picks too.
And that's the big thing that I really wanted to underline. That Draven ban, it's not just because, you know, Bloodthirster are a bit better to buy right now. A lot of the AD carries need that initial 1 game power or 1 item power spike, but it's also a Jackie Love special. And I'm already so excited because I prepped my Mordekaiser. I played it all night with Rusty last night just to get a really good grasp on the champion, because we thought we might see it in the bot lane. I know it's been played in Brazil so far.
That's the thing. We thought, you know, we could see it today. There's that potential. They could still go back to Ezreal, do something funky in the bottom lane with On instead, but Mordekaiser locked in as the first champion of choice for JDG, Vladimir, their second pick.
And the fact of the matter is we have no idea where any of these champions are going to slate. We assume that Mordekaiser is going to be the representative of the ADC. How his W works, how you can make sure that you're getting the solo EXP so you can just outscale people. But even the Vladimir, normally we would say that's mid and top, it's still a flex pick. I've seen Vladimir running around in the support and ADC position as well in Korean solo queue. So still everything's up in the air. JD have tons of flex opportunities.
Doesn't mean that the old bottom bottom lane duo of support and AD carry is completely dead. We still see the likes of Ezreal, who were not hit too hard by the patch recently.
That said, with the Lulu locked in, I would be surprised if they went towards the Ezreal. This feels more like a Kog'Maw to me.
And that's one of the other AD carries that has somehow survived the patch changes, didn't rely too much on critical strike. Kaiser's also the possibility that was played as the second most picked champion, but Alistar and Lulu, they've been locked in for Invictus Gaming.
So I assume Kog'Maw, because like you're saying, we still see Kog'Maw cropping up. You know, he's there with the Lucians, the Jins, the Dravens. He's right there, still has his Rage Blade. You see the Lulu, it makes sense. Nope, we're going to go Alistar Lulu, which is a very oppressive bottom lane. But usually Alistar's used in tandem with someone like Mordekaiser.
We're not going to stop just yet,
Oh
Frostco,
my
because
God.
Shyvana's been locked in for Clid in the jungle for JDG.
I'm going to say trying to prep for this patch was actually just a nightmare. Because I'm just looking at all the champions. We were starting to tier them, you know, figuring out what is the most OP, what's an S tier, A tier for every single position. Between Clement, Raz, Rusty, and I, we ended up with a document that had like 120 champions on it. And we're just like, you can play them anywhere.
Because I remember watching a couple of the pro player streams, like Aframu, he was playing Bard and Brand in the bottom lane. I said, hey, Rusty, let's try this. Let's see how good this is. Rusty said, oh, you know, it's a solo queue pick. It's not going to work too well in competitive. And we played 3 games of it, and Rusty said, you know what? This is stupid. I don't understand how this exists. That's going to destroy every single bottom lane. And then he went home and played another 10 games and found out there's 20 different combinations you can now throw into the bottom lane. And things have really been mixed up coming into the summer split.
And also a lot of different combinations that are going in the jungle, especially with Talia and Graves' band. The other one that really spoke to me was Jin Zhao. I'm curious that we didn't see him hit the ban list at all for JD Gaming. It's now Nunu that comes in as the last ban for Invictus Gaming. So I expect it's either Camille's already locked in as the jungler and JD know this from scrims, or a possible Jin Zhao from IG, depending on what the top lane matchup is. But Shyvana, with the Scuttler Crab being so effective, with a lot of the experience moved out into the river, Shyvana is able to just get such a quick tempo through the jungle.
Incredibly fast jungler. We'll have to see if Nunu does get played later on today, because Raz thinks it's going to be a pick that gets cropped up, and Pike gets locked in for the first game of LPL.
Give it to me. I was already ready for the Pike. Again, practicing with Rusty all last night. We were Pike Mordekaiser the entire way through. Won all of our games.
Oh, it's not just Rusty. Our producer's been playing Pike non-stop as well for Oscar, and as soon as we get into a game, anyone on the LPL team wants to actually play this champion.
So here's what I'm going to say about Pike. We're going to comment more on him as we see him in the game, so I'm not going to go super in-depth. But to me, Pike is a win more style of champion because he is that assassin support. If you're already winning, if the game is snowballed out of control, which if you've been playing solo queue seems to be the case, Pike just blows all of that up and makes it even worse.
Well, it's not just Pike that's making this game fantastic already for us. When we said there's a potential to see something shaken up in game number 1, if not for the rest of the day, it seems like every single pick, the kitchen sink and more, is being thrown into champions safe for game 1. Aatrox gets locked in for Invictus Gaming.
So I assumed then that this is going to be, I was going to say the mid laner, but it's actually Kaiser. So let's say it's going to be Aatrox, Camille, Lulu, Kaiser, Alistar. Did I get it?
That should be right. Kaiser is still one of the stronger AD carries with the current meta. It was played as the second most picked champion in the OPL last weekend.
But has been changed slightly on the patches. We saw her appear over in the OPL, so not completely disappearing, but I feel like she's certainly fallen down from her top tier rankings. Some of her power moved more so towards the AP scaling.
But not going towards the Ezreal, which we thought could be the #1 pick as an AD carry for this first match. It seems that Jacula will still be picking up Teleport. That was a summon spell popularized in MSI for Ezreal's in the bot lane. Now it's being consistent with a lot of AD carries. Final pick for JDG is still going to be Gangplank, a very strong champion and has been for the past few patches.
Okay, so let's kind of take stock where everyone ends up. Again, in Brazil, Raz was talking to me about this. The Mordekaiser actually wasn't slotted into the ADC position. He was actually put into the mid lane position and used as a flex pick to confuse people. We've seen a lot of Vladimir in the Korean solo queue down in that ADC position, but normally, or more often than not, as the support pick. You know, having the Revelry build path, using the pool, and then kind of setting up. But with Pike, he is going to take that ADC position, and I'm really curious to lock in on what Vladimir is going to be building in his runes, as well as his itemization. I've been peeking in on FLICKR's solo queue, and FLICKR has really been experimenting with this champion in terms of keystones, as well as itemization.
Yeah, he's been picking up stuff like the Predator, going towards Conqueror from time to time as well, and trying to go towards Spellbinder instead of Shurelia's more effectively, but we'll have to see what they're going to be picking up for JDG in this first match. It was rumored it could be thrown into the bottom lane. It seems like it's going to be the case for JDG, but we'll have to even check to see where they position their champions in the map. Potentially, we could have 2 people in the mid lane for all we know.
And it's definitely the terror combination in solo queue right now. So many supports with their aggressive junglers taking up 2v2 in the mid lane position, having double relics, and then just roaming around because you can kill the mid lane creep waves and then immediately rock into the jungle and have kill pressure on anyone. Now, the most important area of the map that I really want to focus viewers in on is the river. Scuttle Crab is incredibly important, a lot of these early game resources, so which team gets control of the river and how that leverages into a slingshot snowball advantage in the jungle EXP to then walk into the enemy jungle for free.
And for both these teams, their junglers are incredibly important. Clid and Yakao have one of the best synergies for mid lane and jungle duos during Spring Split, whereas Ning was the catalyst to allow his 3 aggressive lanes to be so dominant and had their undefeated run after their first loss against RNG. This was the super team that fell to finals. JD was the team that crept into playoffs last split, and they're going to meet today for match number 1 of the Summer Split. Let's get on to Summoner's Rift for game number 1. Seems like there's no time to cheer for the teams, so they went for a fight, but they do get back in there.
So if you're a new viewer to the LPL, as our audience is going to go 500 strong back and forth, JD's manager shows up to every single game, and he is the crowd leader there for JD. So you heard his thunderous roar, and we might get a thunderous team fight.
Very early fight, 3 members of IG walk into a bush. Everyone from JD's here. First blood gets picked up by Zoom. 1 Aatrox trying to escape. Duke jumps over the wall. Zoom is trying to chase him down. Gets a couple of parlay procs, but is slowly going to walk towards the wrong side of the map. Might send Duke back to base. A single kill and Summoner's burnt.
And we saw this at MSI, that level 1s were really deciding a lot of the early game focus. It really started with Kingzone, was followed up by Flash Wolves, and was just a tournament dominator. And so here it seems that JD, they've taken some things from scrims. They inferred that there might be some splitting of the map, creating strong sides. They set a trap and they capitalize on it. And there we go, Fish. We were curious what was going to happen. It's a double jungle in mid lane with Mordekaiser.
Mordekaiser is going to be helping out Shyvana with that jungle clip, which is already incredibly quick. As you mentioned, Scuttle Crab is now a huge buff, or huge camp, I should say, to contest. It gives you much more experience. And Mordekaiser shares experience as well, Crosscurrent. He picks up 100% from his minion wave, as long as there's only one other person next to him.
And this is what you're going to see repeatedly, is he's just going to tempo jungle, not tempo jungle, but just jungle alongside Shyvana, and then as the wave crash in, because a lot of the mana regen items and wave pushing in general has been nerfed or changed on 8.9 to 8.11, they then walk into their jungle, take camps, walk back in, grab the mid lane camp, and suddenly have access to all of this gold and all of this experience.
But IG are trying to stop this mid lane jungle duo. They got to push in the bottom lane. Jaculov and Baolan were able to shove in Loken as well as Luma. With the help of a little pushing in that mid lane, move towards the blue buff, Ning's going to be able to steal that away from Clid.
And just one of the punishing things of the fact that it is a Vladimir in a lane phase. As we said, in Champion Select, there's been a lot of experimentation, particularly with FLICKR and trying to figure out what is going to be the go-to for Vladimir. You can see in this game right now that Loken is running the Electrocute. So again, FLICKR has tried Conquer, Electrocute, as well as Predator, and is going more so towards the Spellbinder, trying to find an early game initial power spike Vladimir, because these games are ending so early.
Yeah, Electrocute going to be picked up, traditionally a late game champion, but with the help of his ultimate can buff up his allies as well, give them a little bit more damage during team fights.
Yeah, and it's just that idea that he is a hyper-scaling champion, but does have the amplification for early fights. But if you can get the best of both worlds, a Vladimir that hits early in the lane phase and then also amplifies, it makes that 20-minute, to 25-minute game and that much more impactful.
But we haven't seen too much from their bottom lane just yet. So far, it's all been about this mid lane jungle duo. Rookie's doing a good job of making sure they have to return to this mid lane and fight the minions underneath those turrets. But Yakao, as well as Clid, are just rotating around the map, clearing as many camps as they can, pick up as much CS as they can. No major fights take place besides level 1, though.
And what's great is this is actually a perfect microcosm of the differences between Yagao and Rookie. You heard it on the Analyst test. Rookie is much more about the controlling of the mid lane. He's the best mid laner in the LPL. He's incredibly oppressive to lane against, whereas Yagao is much more about the roaming. He has some of the highest kill participation stats of any mid laner in our league, and that's initially exactly the role that he slotted into. He is a secondary support Mordekaiser with, I believe, 5 or 6 CS to his name right now in this game, and he's just holding Clid's hand and skipping around the forest with him.
I mean, Clement talked about it a lot during Spring Split. Clid as well as Yakao, they synergize incredibly well in the LPL. They're not your kill mid lane duo, but they find interesting combinations and they execute them incredibly well. I mean, it's to the point where, as you mentioned, Yakao has so many assists in the LPL that we compare him to the likes of someone from the NBA, Jason Kidd. Like, really well known for all of his assists. Or if you watch football, someone like Paul Pogba or Steven Gerrard, these midfielders that always set up their team for success, don't necessarily score the most goals for the team, but they're well known for doing that. They become stars in themselves.
Yeah, he's the definition of a role player, but the best role player that we have pretty much in our league right now. I think pretty synonymous with the other rookie like Knight. Yagao got my rookie of the split, didn't end up getting the rookie of the split from the rest of people, but he's the next generation of talent in the LPL. And
unfortunately, we've heard that he's been having some contract issues recently, so we'll have to keep track of Knight when Suning to play later on. But an interesting part about this mid lane combo from JD is if you can shut down Yakao, normally that tears the synergy between Clid and Yakao apart. But they're roaming around together, going for a skirmish against Ning as well as Rookie, rotating nice and early. Clid's gonna have to flash over, but Ning jumps over, gets the low sweep. Yakao now 2-on-1, doesn't have the backup from the rest of the team to rotate, and IG still invade into JDG's jungle.
And now we can kind of start talking about what these compositions do, because while it's very interesting and it's fun to be like, oh, Gangplank, Shyvana, Mordekaiser, Vladimir, Pyke, my next option is, where is your engage here? You basically have the ability to throw a dragon down. You can have a Gangplank ultimate. Pyke is pretty much like Thresh. He's not consistent hard CC. Yes, between his Q and his E combo, he can provide something for you. But in terms of team fight power, in terms of a well-rounded composition, IG's comp is just so much stronger. And they're using this to hunt. Because they have control over the bot lane, because again, it's Vladimir Pyke versus Alistar Kai'Sa, they're always going to have the ability to rotate first. They're pushing that vision into the jungle, and they're warding the camps and just waiting for Mordekaiser and Shyvana, who are just wanting to farm at this point.
Yes, they're doing well so far. They've hunted them down twice. First time around, they pick up a blue buff for their team. Now they're able to get a kill onto Clid, force a couple of summoner spells out as well, and IG are going to continue doing just this.
And if this comp falls behind, yeah, you would say, you know, last split you look back, but they got the scaling potential. They just could wait for Gangplank and Vladimir to become a massive problem. But games are ending before that's an option, and you're still looking across from an Aatrox and a Kai'Sa. So I feel like JD are on a very brittle composition in terms of the flexibility that it offers for their win conditions through this game, whereas IG a bit more well-rounded. Not as gimmicky, but more bases to cover.
It's been working out so far for Invictus Gaming, despite the early game disadvantage from the invade. They went against red buff. JD are still trying to push through this mid lane, but again, another flank's coming out from Ning. Rookie's trying to slow it down. Clid does have ultimate available, gets stunned, but Dragon's through it and gets back to safety.
Just a pretty standard game from IG, which we heard in some of the interviews from Rookie that they were looking at kind of, you know, changing up their play style. IG's bread and butter is lane kingdom. That's all you really need to know about this team, is that because they had superstars in every single lane, Jackie Love, Rookie, as well as the Shy on the top side, they would just automatically win their lane phase, group up, and roll over you.
And that's why we thought taking away the Shy was such a big problem for Invictus Gaming. Not because the Shy is better than Duke. They're two fantastic players, but the Shy is an aggressive player. He had a higher solo kill rate, had more damage done during games, but let's keep track of that later, because JD being engaged on Yakao, taking a lot of damage. Ning's going to be able to lock him down. Rookie picks up that first kill. JD wants to try and fight back. Ning goes low, but escapes from trouble. Clid gets back to safety as well. Loka's trying to hunt him now. Limao now wants to try and hunt Ning as well. Jumps over the wall, wants to try and get that execute. A couple more seconds should be enough, but they're hunting him down. One hook would be enough, and Limao picks it up.
And Pyke finally on the board right there. Of course, didn't pick up the kill with his ultimate, so there's no kill gold. If you haven't played Pyke or experienced him yet, I know I said in the champion select that he's kind of a win more style of champion, and you can actually see that from his lane phase. Pyke is not what I would call an enforcer. So you have someone like Alistar, and Alistar's looking at his ADC, and he's the enforcer. He steps forward and he says, I'm going to make space, I'm going to create plays, and Kai'Sa, you just need to get on my back and you need to follow me. Pyke can't really do that. He relies on his partner, if it's an ADC, if it's a Vladimir, to work in tandem with him, which means that Pyke's lane phase really depended on the matchup of if he's going to win it or lose it. Whereas like the Leonas, the Threshes, and the Alistars, it's a bit more figured out or settled into how this is supposed to go and what their responsibility is in every single matchup.
And his release really fits in with the meta at the moment for Oscar, and it's really early game as well as mid game dependent. A lot of fights take place, so an assassin-based support really fits in. We finally get to check in with the top side of the map where Duke, he's playing a carry champion here of Aatrox, pushing Zoom out, and he hasn't had a good time farming on the top side of the map at the moment.
Yeah, he's doing his best, the Shy impression. Now, Aatrox has come back in, and he is a fairly binary champion still. It was really a lot of item changes that kind of really put him up on top, some things being taken away, how the top lane 1v1s are settling, although as I want to talk about top lane, the Observer's like, no, we need to talk about every single blue buff that's being stolen, because I don't believe JD Gaming have gotten a single blue buff yet.
Not a single one. They've fought over blue buff 3 times now. 2 of the spawns from blue buff, but 3 fights have taken place on that bottom side of the jungle.
But now back to top lane. So the thing about Aatrox, though, is that he's still a very binary champion. He must get ahead. He needs to split push. He doesn't have a lot of team fight capabilities. It's not so damaging in this composition from Invictus Gaming, because they have the options with, you know, the Camille and the Alistar that they don't need to rely on their top laner. But it's funny because this is actually Duke, again, doing his best cosplay of the Shy. He's doing the exact same role, that split pushing, that 1-3-1 playstyle that IG were so dominant with in Spring.
And for context, Duke during the regular split played 3 different tank champions. Not during playoffs, just during the regular split, 3 different tank champions. Those were Sion, Maokai as well as on the top side map. So picking up a carry, that's something that we see more from the Shy. But he's not going to be starting in this first match for Invictus Gaming. We haven't seen him since his injury just before playoffs.
Yep, so taking some time, continuing to rest up. I think the best stat about Duke versus the Shy is that over 50% of the losses for Invictus Gaming of their entire spring split happened in playoffs.
And some people say that it's not fair because the Shy played way more games. But let's take a look at their regular split. Let's ignore playoffs. Regular split. The Shy won 32 of the matches he played and only lost 2, whereas Duke lost 3 matches and only won 5. So even though there's a disparity in the amount of games that were played, he did have a much higher losing rate.
Again, we're not saying that Duke is the problem, but he has not been the solution for Invictus Gaming. And it's curious if, with the time with the Shy been recovering from his injury, if he's finally settled into the team, built up the synergy, and can return to being that SKT dominant top laner Duke.
Because we look at Invictus Gaming and they're an aggressive team. Look, they made so many invades earlier to take down JD nice and early. In fact, level 1, they wanted to go for a 3-man invade that backfired against them. This allowed them to set up for things like the Mountain Dragon they just took off the map. But it's been all about how every single laner for Invictus Gaming can be aggressive, especially with the Shy, and Ning's able to facilitate that. You take away one part of that, you take away Duke, you make him a facilitator, and suddenly he can't be that aggressive playmaker you need, but Clid has already been locked down, and that was just instant. They flew out of nowhere, Frostgurn, and they wiped the floor of that dragon.
And what's crazy is that Clid has a 2-level advantage on top of Ning, but like we've been saying, it's just the control through the lanes, the bottom and the top side. So still doing their spring IG impression of winning the lanes and then transferring that into warding the camps. They see the Shyvana Mordekaiser, they know how it plays. If you see it in solo queue, now you see the counter. Just make sure that through the power of teamwork and chat, go ahead, open that up, type in a couple of times. Guys, we need to play this like we're playing against an Evelyn, ward all the camps. When they go to them, fight them, and kill them.
And IG's done a good job so far of taking out JDG every single time. They mainly focused on the bottom side of the map. Now moving over towards the top side where they're able to catch out Clid at red buff. On top of that, Duke's been able to zone out Zoom. Has had a fairly quiet laning phase where he's just been one-on-one against the Gangplank on the top side. He's been very happy about that as well. Bottom lane, big fight taking place. Lumao forced to back away. Balan even getting ignited there by Lumao. He's forced to use 2 summoners in trade for 1.
And now we can see, hopefully, Pyke's passive kick in here. So he has gray health like Tahm Kench. He can't activate it as a shield.
Oh, X marks the spot. Jumps in, gets the execute. Good night, Alistar.
So I was just comparing him to Tahm Kench having the gray health, not as a shield, but then able to regenerate it as soon as he goes unseen. The other champion that I'm going to compare Pyke to is Rakan for his ability to close distance. And you can already see that maybe Alistar's not quite as familiar with the distance that Pyke can reach right there. Wasn't really counting on the kill pressure, but caught off guard and immediately destroyed.
He wasn't able to regenerate because there was a ward in that bush. You have to be completely into Fog of War, but still makes the best out of that situation and gets a kill.
Yeah, we're going to see it again. His ultimate is ranged, so stepped forward, the gap closing, having his E, his ult, snagged. And he killed him with the ult, so that means the kill gold if there was an assist there for Vlad.
If Logan got enough damage on before that, wasn't able to check out to see if he did get the assist gold, but regardless, gold onto Pyke is not that bad. He's able to pick up items like Dustblade, which it seems like he's going to be rushing first.
The word you're looking for is good, Fish. Gold on Pyke is good. It's a Dustblade rush. Listening to Afromoo's stream, he's talking about Dustblade into Black Cleaver. Kind of the core essential item really is the Moby Boots. I really liked the point that Afro brought up about maybe as the meta settles, as people get more used to Pyke, he'll swap from Mobies more towards swiftness. Right now, I don't feel like the team fights are going long enough because the games are ending so early. Everyone's still very squishy, so it's more about, you know, you find that one assassin assassination and get out. But if these team fights start going longer, if we have tankier opponents, then Swifties makes more sense. So Pyke will maintain his movement speed and kind of skirt on the outside of fights, looking for opportunities in and out more often.
Well, he's already been able to pick up those boots soften ability like you were talking about, checking with the rest of the items that we picked up. Standard items for Zoom as well as Duke. Gangplank goes for the Trinity Force. Titanic Hydra gets picked up by Aatrox, tops to the map. Nothing on Orthodox up there. Jungle items a little bit changed, not going for the Warrior's Enchantment on Shyvana, going to make sure she gets more attack speed, more damage on hit as well to synergize well with a Q on top of that. Kai'Sa exactly the same. Quincy's Rage Base still being picked up. Picked up the Doran's ring nice and early for a bit of mana regeneration, and Vladimir will be going towards the Proto Belt first. Now we're curious to see what the next item is going to be. It's Rift Herald, picks up another turret for Invictus Gaming.
Again, the issue with JD's composition is that because their side lanes were the Gangplank as well as the Vladimir with the Pyke, they weren't going to win those lane phases. They could survive them, but they were not going to win them. And Invictus Gaming just exploited their side lane advantage into the jungle and bled dry this Shyvana Mordekaiser combo. And now they're just going to run away with the game.
They collapse onto Pyke, they get a good knockout combo, but it's Invictus Gaming that are in a bit of trouble here. Rest of JD trying to collapse, but like you mentioned earlier, FLICKR, there's very little ways for JD to actually engage onto Invictus Gaming.
And that's the thing, that was the best case scenario. You know, they got the Gangplank ultimate, they had the Vladimir ultimate to amplify the damage. Shyvana had Dragon available and ready to tank. But there's no CC. They effectively have some slows.
But instead, they're trying to lock down Logan. Instead, uses the pull, tries to jump away. Kai'Sa wants to continue jumping forward. Plasma's going to strike, gets that kill. Lumao wants to try and go for the collapse, but now he's stuck underneath the turret as well. Ning looking to make sure he can't retreat anywhere. JackeyLove pushing in the minions. Gets stunned, gets knocked up. Baolan picks up the kill.
Just absolutely destroyed. It's now mid lane tower into a team fight, into bot lane tower, which means it's a huge swing of gold for Invictus Gaming. And this side lane has just bled out JD's composition. And as I was saying, I don't see a lot of options for them, save an incredibly late game scaling option for them to climb back in this game. But this meta is just going too fast.
Certainly is. And it seems like they had the bits and pieces available for themselves. JDG had a very nice composition. The Shyvana Mordekaiser was working well early, but it just doesn't synergize too well with all the other picks they have.
I'm going to quote one of my favorite casters, Spawn, over in the LPL, or excuse me, OPL. Wow, I miss you, Spawn. Come back. He would call this type of composition a triple cheeseburger comp. You know, you go into Hungry Jack's, you want your full meal, but all you get is just a lot of damage. And a lot of damage that kind of goes everywhere. A lot of Venn diagrams to Gangplanks to Vladimirs. Whereas the IG comp, it's like the full combo. You got your chips, you got your drink, your ADC, your support, your mid laner. It's still the fun that we wanted with like the flex of the Camille jungle, but less of the Yakky sex.
I'm pretty sure it's Invictus Gaming to have the Hungry Jack's burger there, because that's where the burgers are better for FLICKR. But JD, it's just not working too well for them at the moment. Trying to piece things together hasn't worked out so far in game number 1. Like you mentioned, a late game scaling option is available for them, and they're a little bit too far behind to look towards that just yet. 5,000 behind Invictus Gaming.
IG, though, can't just push the pedal to the metal down. They still have an Aatrox, which means they're not great in the 5v5, where JD's composition is very strong in 5v5. They know it, and that's why they're grouping right now.
Pyke tries to jump in, looks for a stun. Rookie's forced to use his ultimate, but it's going to be JD to try to force this Dragon. If they kill it in time, they will get a Dragon to fight during this team fight, and they do. Dragon is online, but IG wants to fight. Gangplank falls first. JackeyLove bounces in a team fight. Ning tries to escape, gets a shield. Gonna be enough to keep him alive as well. Logan trying to fight this one up. The rest of JD, they are gone. Ace picked up by Invictus Gaming.
Absolutely demolished. Duke actually pulling the teleport, walking into the team fight, and part of it was the fact that Invictus Gaming separated someone like Pyke from the fight. I don't know what Ning was thinking there.
Didn't notice the sneaky Pyke that was able to get away from that team fight, but he does actually take down Ning with the execute.
But he did notice him. He knew that Pyke was over there. Maybe not exactly in that brush, but he was hunting for the support. But again, players being unfamiliar, not seeing so much of Pyke, still very new to our server, very new to our league as the first competitive game of him. Not the greatest move.
Normally it's quite sad when you see a support leading the kills for the team, but in this case it's actually pretty good for Lumao, but the team fights, they've not been going well for JD.
And it's a lot of disengage in the fact that they just get caught out of position. Again, JD recognized that, okay, 5v5, we're still pretty decent, we've got our initial item power spikes, but this team fight just completely collapses. Everyone moves away from the front line, there's no one tanking for them, the Gangplank gets just caught out and immediately destroyed, and then at this point, Invictus Gaming just rock in and take everything.
On top of that, Duke was able to continue split pushing on the top side of the map. He pushed in a wave towards that top lane in the turret.
He lost nothing.
Got half the damage on the turret as well. Lost absolutely nothing. You're right, FLICKR got to that team fight, helped out. He's 2-on-1, has a Rage Blade himself. Going to be stacking that one up. And in fact, Rookie's feeling confident. He's got Medjais for himself. and Zoom's in trouble. Maltz from Invictus Gaming are trying to collapse into the bottom lane. Gangplank's trying to run it, puts their down a couple of barrels, doesn't get the speed up. JackeyLove jumps in, and it's good night, Pirates. Going to be taken down. JackeyLove goes on a rampage, 4-0-2.
And then immediately the ADC, who's running teleport, like we saw at MSI, again, also doesn't lose anything. He gets to participate with a kill and then TP back up and grab a wave. Now, we'll see if there's a response here as JDR looking to collapse on the tower, but don't necessarily have the wave. There they go.
Immediately, Invictus Gaming are going to try and rotate the rest of their members towards top side of the map.
But this would still just be an unfair trade because while it's taking them time to prep the wave, get it in position, look at Aatrox. Duke is still shoving in, and that's an outer for an inner.
He doesn't have his teleport available to join this fight if JD are able to pick one successfully.
But Invictus Gaming don't need to take this fight. If they do, it's because they believe they're that far ahead. Again, they could just trade these objectives and win out.
Yeah, takes down Solo. JackeyLove gets that kill. It's an AP Kaiser being picked up here, and that burst damage was horrible to watch. Loka tries to dash back in, but only gives JackeyLove a double, and the rest of Invictus Gaming are going to pile on in. Clid trying to disengage. Zoom is trying to defend this space against Duke. Limao, the pirate, the other pirate of the team, is trying to back away from this, pull people back, but JD just bleeding and falling like flies.
The 2-for-1 special, the tower, the kills, and now the 3-for-1 special with the Baron. Invictus Gaming have complete control over this map. They have champions that will continue to outscale or match the scaling potential, and JD, thank God it's a best of 3 because they're playing from the back foot and they need a miracle to save this game.
Well, Rookie's trying to collapse onto Clid. He's very low, looking for that execution, but Piker's here. Lu Mao trying to get the execute, gets the stun. One more attack should be enough, but the ultimate comes out of Rookie. Lu Mao gets taken out, and JackeyLove finds a snipe. 702 jumping in as well, following through onto Gangplank. Not enough damage to kill him, but still, this AP Kaiser with the national suit being picked up does some serious burst damage.
I do want to quickly talk about the mind games, though, from Mao and Rookie, recognizing that Lulu had the ultimate available, knowing that she's hunting this this stalking assassin support who wanted the execute potential and who was going to blink first. And in the end, Rookie brought some friends, but I could see what Mao wanted to do.
Well, those past few teamfights have given Invictus Gaming a 10,000 or 12,000 gold lead, I should say, over JD. Just 21 minutes into the game, FLICKR. Baron buff's been picked up as well. That was a 20-minute Baron being picked up, with a 7-0-2 Kaiser, who almost has her death cap complete.
She's got her double needless. She's ready. Got to get that nice hat.
Completely needless at the moment for JackeyLove.
Put the visor down.
It's not looking good. JD, you said they have that hyper-scaling team composition, but they needed to find something early to stop the bleeding against Invictus Gaming, but they don't have the bits and pieces to do just that.
I think the lessons that JD take from this is, I like the fact that they're a very young team. Again, we talk about them, the next generation of LPL talent. When you look at JD Gaming, you have to grab Yagao and you have to grab Zoom. They're called the dumpling duo. They look very similar, so the joke is that they're brothers. They're not actually related, but you saw them in the opening tee standing back-to-back, very identical twins. And they like to experiment. They're young, they try things out. They tried out this composition, tried to break the meta, bend it a little bit. Didn't quite bend back as they would have liked. I have a feeling it's like you try to bend a rake, it just snaps back up and hits you in the face. That's kind of what happened.
Hasn't worked out so far for JD. They do have some interesting items. Both the mid lane and jungle duo went for the frozen items with the frozen mantle as well as the Rylai's Crystal Scepter, so trying to be a bit more supportive there. During this time, IG just pushing down the top side of the map. They're moving towards the inhibitor as well. That should fall, and JD could look for a last stand. Logan jumps in, but he's dead. Can't even go to Sanctuary Ball. Clint follows through. Lumao's trying to jump into the fight, but he's going to fall as well. JackeyLove goes ballistic. 2 more kills picked up. A double for Rookie as well. Only Zoom is left alive.
And that's going to be Invictus Gaming walking down game number 1. Now, that said, it is still a best of 3. JD, they attempted to innovate. Unfortunately, they ran headfirst into the wall that were Invictus Gaming, but they have another opportunity to try to strike back.
But IG starts strong. 23 minutes and an absolute shellacking. They take down JD Gaming.
9-0-4 on the JackeyLove AP Kaiser, so showcasing some of those Kaiser changes that have come through. And Invictus Gaming, they take a pretty standard comp, I think is fair to say, as far as 8-11 is concerned. And you can't even tell if it's the Duke or the Shy. It looked exactly like we expected from IG.
Duke played well in that match, picked up the Aatrox. And on top of that, they tried to stay a little bit more conventional. We still saw the quote-unquote 80 carry of Kaiser being played in the bottom lane. But JD, they had the kitchen sink and more there, FLICKR, and that team composition looked promising. Didn't work out.
Again, the tweaks that I would make are you can't sacrifice both your side lanes of having pushing pressure. It means that if you're going to play this gimmick of the Shyvana Mordekaiser about clearing mid lane, returning to your jungle, and just trying to snowball farm very quickly or high tempo through that jungle, you have to have a strong side of the map to safely do that. So good concept, just slight tweaks.
Let's see if they do change things moving into game number 2. It is a best of 3 between these two teams. But ladies and gentlemen, if you wanted to watch the best league in the world, you wanted to watch the new patch and all the changes that these pro teams are going to make, this was probably the best game to kick off Summer Split.
I just love how every time we say the best league in the world, I know that Twitch chat just gets tilted off the face of the earth and they just start spamming LCK. All I'm going to say is, next time, win it.
Uzi's already got that crown covered. He has that ready for himself, and he's picked up multiple trophies for the LPL. He's not going to stop just yet. And IG, they're going to be hungry to try and make it to the World Championship, because we already talked about it. Their spring split, the regular season was incredibly dominant. They faltered during playoffs, and unfortunately did not have their star player of the Shy playing in the top lane. But if Duke continues to play the way he did in this match, he could be the Shy 2.0.
Yeah, completely invisible in terms of the difference between those two. So probably the best performance that we've seen from Duke. That said, I almost said that, Duke. That said, JD Gaming, Invictus Gaming, and so if they if it's about, you know, Invictus Gaming rising to the top and not just being a contender but being the champion, you know, we expect them to roll over JD. Let's see how you do against RNG or EDG.
Well, potentially they could try and make their next statement in game number 2, but JD are going to try and make some changes and fight back. For now though, let's send it back to the Analyst desk to break down that game.
Oh man, I feel like Frost just dropped the mic, so I just need to pick mine back up. Alright, let's start this segment off because we had a ton of new picks, as they were talking about on the cast, and I think we just need to start off with it. So let's bring up that champion select graphic and start getting through this, because this is fantastic. Clement, I want you to start us off here, because I want you to talk about the mid lane and the jungle interaction, because I know a lot of people look at that mid lane and be like, well, why does Mordekaiser have 20 CS at 20 minutes? But it's for a very good reason.
Yeah, the more thing about Mordekaiser is that he gets 100 EXP out of experience sharing with other people. So we talked about Yagao being a roaming type of mid laner. He's actually completely foregone the laning part of it. He's actually just went to roam around with his jungle, and the jungle is actually the true carry out of those two. We've seen this in a lot of other compositions as well, like the Master E and Taric, like the Braum and Olaf. It works kind of the same way. The mid lane takes the Targon and kind of pushes the wave into the composition and lets all the gold be funneled towards the jungler.
And the best thing about the fact that those two champions work in that manner and make Shyvana a little bit more buffed up is the fact that they both do incredibly well surrounding Dragon. It felt like both of them buffed up specifically the statistics of Shyvana, and of course the Dragon that you have, the pet that you have, you can pull around the map itself with Mordekaiser. So if this composition got rolling after the early laning phase, then they would have done well for themselves.
Yeah, and theoretically, this sounds really good on paper. Yeah. And then we need to touch on Pyke as well. We got our first Pyke in our very first game. We got to see that. And not only was it a surprise factor for us, I also think it was also a surprise factor for many people in the game. Watching that solo kill on Camille, watching the solo kill on the Alistair. He was stepping forward like, I'm totally safe, and instantly blown up.
There's a lot of players that didn't know that Pyke was enabled right now, because you can tell Ning flying in there. He expected an easy kill. Luma was having none of that, and that wasn't the only instance where he caught people off guard in the bot lane. Bot lane did not know he was in execute range either.
Best thing about this is, remember, Evelynn, she doesn't know what your execution range is off your ulti. It has to come off your gut. Pyke knows! He has an indicator. He has an idea of where he can actually get the execute a kill. Has Ignite, got the Ignite off that kill. So ultimately, it just comes down to the inexperience of going up against an assassin support that knows exactly how much it takes to get the kill.
Yeah, and overall, I have to say, this game was the old school of League of Legends. You had your normal 80 carry marksman in the bot lane against the new school of League of Legends, the bruiser type of League of Legends. And we really saw the difference, the strengths and weaknesses between each of them. I think for the bruiser side, the big part was, like Frost Curran said, they had no push in the bot lane. And that's why the Dragon synergy didn't happen, and that's why their jungle couldn't snowball so far ahead, because Balan with Dematerializer was able to then secure the buffs.
Exactly, and Raz, I want to jump back on your point, because you were talking about, like, it's so good with the Dragon, the jungler is going to benefit, the mid lane's going to benefit, but what actually happened in reality is the invades came through, and it feels like IG adapted to the situation very well.
Yeah, the invades is well timed, because even though there's so many new things flying at your face, it's still the same old IG. They're going to be going in heavy invades. Bottom lane gets pushed up, top lane is incredibly safe, and they know where Clid is because it's the mid laner who's tagging along with him. So it's so much easier to track down the Shyvana if you have an idea of where the camp's going. So biggest problem with the composition that JD have, and they recognize that they didn't have an ability to win skirmishes because there's no CC along with it. There is no catch potential with their champion. So if one gets caught, Shyvana in this case, gets demolished.
You know, I actually disagree with that because I think there's a lot of weapons they had if they reached that first item spike where they could catch up to people. You had the Rylai's coming out from the mid lane, and you had the Proto Belt coming out from the Vladimir, and the Gameblink ultimate coming on ahead of that. I actually just think the problem there was they didn't reach their first item spikes before IG's compositions. They fell too far behind because of the bot lane push. You know, Pyke is a great champion, but he can't bring minion dematerializer, and that was the big difference there. Ballin was able to roam on it.
So here's the million-dollar question. Are we going to see more of this? Because you're talking about the old school, you're talking about the new school, we're talking about the tools and the weapons, and we clearly saw a lot of it. We saw the theory and the idea, but you're right, they never really got there because of the invades, because of the adaptation from IG.
The thing about Bruiser comps is that if they catch you, they will demolish you. They are just in the middle phases of the game, much stronger champions. They have better base stats, better skill progression as well than the normal marksman compositions. The problem is they are very gold inefficient into the late game. They have to divest themselves into offense and defense at the same time. So if you can weather that storm or you have a better early game, then Bruiser compositions don't come back from the dead.
And here's the thing, the science of League of Legends still holds true. So if you have a Vladimir Pyke in the bottom lane, you're going to get pushed in. You don't have the stats if you're Vladimir to contest that. So that, to me, if you look towards bottom lane, if you're trying to shake it up, I would say put the Mordekaiser bottom lane. I know that we mentioning it earlier that Brazil had the Mordekaiser mid and the bottom lane was a little bit more open.
They played Mordekaiser everywhere, actually.
Yeah, but it just happened recently. So the biggest point is that bottom lane, I would much rather see a focus on a pushing lane. If you know Invictus Gaming have our team that will time your buffs, that will move into your jungle and look for the skirmish, if you pick that comp, you expect it. They didn't expect it in this instance. Going into the next game, prioritize your bottom lane push, so at the very least you can protect it to get to that next win condition, which was Dragon.
Yeah, exactly. And now we're going to take a look at our final replay, which happens to be around that Dragon. Now, is there a world in which this works out well for JD? Because, of course, yes, the early game didn't go well for them, so it feels like this team was almost doomed to fail. But what do you need for this to actually work out if we ran the same thing a second time?
Oh, it's just hard. I think it really is. It was a snowball from this point because even if they got the Dragon, which they did, they solidified an Infernal Dragon for Shyvana, so she got the base stats. But this is a team that is reliant on those statistics. They were so far behind, and they were hoping that the Aatrox wasn't going to be there to contest. Yeah. But Invictus Gaming recognized that, had the full numbers available for that fight, and even if you were able to take down Aatrox that was in the forefront of it, had the passive, so you would have been able to revive off that. So it's actually just a done deal the moment that Invictus Gaming contested it.
I just think that was a culmination of Jingdong trying to do two things at once. They wanted to play the Targon mid-jungle, and they also wanted to play the Bruiser in the bot lane as well. But if you're running a Bruiser bot lane, most of the time you're actually running a jungler with high CC. We see the Xin Zhaos and we see the Jarvans for that, just to get those Bruisers snowballing ahead. But with Shyvana being the main carry, that was never going to be the case. They fell behind bottom lane, that snowballed into the mid and jungle, and that comp just fell apart.
Exactly, and the add-on to that was because with your jungler being the main carry, it's got to be on the opposite side when you look at Ning to be the one to shut him down, and we saw that coming in with those invades. In fact, Ning will actually take our MVP, and I feel like a lot should go towards Ning in this game for that quick adaptation and actually leading the charge into the enemy jungle.
Yeah, Ning did quite well for himself alongside Rookie. I know there was always questions about the 2v2 in that respect, that Invictus Gaming more so had the jungle catering towards top lane, but Duke could handle himself. Yeah. So Ning prioritized mid lane, and mid lane is going to be the lane to look at in this patch, just because mid lane means that you get a guaranteed scuttle crab in either direction after the first one despawns, and it means that you have access to a bottom lane, top lane. They chose their target. It was an invade on blue side, and then they went bottom lane.
And finally, if IG wants to seal the deal right here, Clement, do you expect him just to do the same thing, and do you expect JD to go back to old school or stay with new school?
What Jingdong is saying is that we can't win the lane straight up, so we're going to try something new. So I actually expect the same compositions coming out from both sides, but it's going to be round 2.
All right, we'll see if that rings true. We are going to take a quick break, but when we get back, we'll be heading into the second game between Invictus Gaming and JD Gaming.